So first of all, we have velakechu and venatenu. Okay. What is the structure of these verbs? Okay, these are both, we had earlier, we have the yiktol in tukad or tichbe, yiktol or adjective. Okay, we had the qatal in ashan. How about velakechu and venatenu?
The imperative.
These are instructions, but they're not, as far as the morphology of these, they are not imperative, but rather they're not vayiktol, because we don't have the va and we don't have a prefix letter. Okay, vayiktol would have a va at the beginning and would also have one of the four possible prefix letters, aleph, yod, tav, or nun, at the beginning preceding the first root letters. Here you can see that the first root letter is directly following the vav conjunction. So what do we have here? What is the form of this verb?
Weqatal.
Weqatal, very good. So if we're talking about the tenses, okay, we have the qatal, yiktol, weqatal, vayiktol, and we have the modal verbs as well. So here we have weqatal, both velakechu and venatenu. They are weqatal. They are actually continuing a sequence of instructions that were given before, and this is why we already find them in these sequential forms, the weqatal being a sequential form. Velakechu, venatenu, and velakechu min hadam, from, in this context, some of, a partitive, some of, and venatenu al, ve'al, al, specifying which parts of the house should the blood be given upon. Okay. Al habatim asher yochalu oto bahem. So we have a relative clause modifying the word batim. Which batim? Which houses? Asher yochalu oto bahem. Bahem. This is anaphoric. Okay, this goes back, resumptive or anaphoric goes back to the noun that is modified by the relative clause. Bahem, in them, them being the houses. Okay, by the way, here is the preposition bet being used differently, not time, not mean, but rather place. Okay. Moving on to the other verse, showing that the blood covenant, so to speak, that is unique to the Passover, that is put on the houses of everybody, that is done communally by everybody, is now brought to the tabernacle, keeping that covenantal, renewing or keeping that covenant, but in the context of the tabernacle. Let's see the first verse here, which is from our weekly portion. Don't be shy, guys. Who's reading? Okay, Anne, please.
Bi-meqom asher yishratu et haolah, yishratu את האשם ואת דמיו יזרוק על המזבח סביב.
Saviv, right.
At the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered, the guilt offering shall be slaughtered, and its blood shall be dashed on all sides of the altar.
Right. Okay. Bimkom asher. So we have, as we said, a relative clause, but the combination bimkom asher, okay, creates a grammatical structure that talks about the place where something happens. Okay, because we have the word mekom or makom, and in this construct form mekom asher. Note how the word is constructed upon this clause. It's not constructed upon another word. Mekom David, the place of David. Mekom ha-bait, the place of the house, but rather mekom asher yishchetu et haolah. So mekom asher yishchetu et haolah means the place where they slaughter the whole burnt offering, and bimkom asher, in the place where they sacrifice the burnt offering, okay, or they slaughter the burnt offering, they should also slaughter the guilt offering. Bimkom asher yishchatu et haolah, yishchatu et hasham. Okay, so again we have twice the verb yishchatu. The tense, as you remember, is yiktol. Okay, this is also a form that is very commonly used as a command or as an obligation in the language of the law of biblical Hebrew. Okay, and we have the verb, the object, the verb, the object. Bimkom asher yishchatu et haolah, yishchatu et hasham. Okay. Yes, Betsy?
What is the B prefix here? Why not Bi-meqom if it's in the place?
Okay, because it's already definite by specifying which place. The specification is already done by this. So in English you've got the, and I see that, but you don't require it in the Hebrew as you specify the structure by providing that location, that said location.
Okay, and then it should just be a shva then.
Because it's constructed upon the clause. Why? Oh, you were asking why is it a chirik and not a shava under the?
Yes, if it's not a the.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, now I understand better the question. Because we have a law, a phonetic law that prevents us from having two consecutive shavas at the beginning of a word. Okay, it was difficult for them, for the ancient Hebrews, pronouncing two consecutive shavas at the beginning of a word was impossible. Think about it. Have you heard like Moroccan people speaking or Czech people speaking? There are certain languages that are much more easily accepting of consonant clusters, of consecutive sequences of consonants. Okay, such as there is a place in in the Czech Republic, or maybe it's in Slovakia, where my grandfather, it's in the Czech Republic, my grandfather went and he served in the Czech military and he did his course in a town that is called Brno. Okay, and it's not an easy name to pronounce, right? In English, you would have added a vowel there. You know, starting the word with 3 consecutive consonants would be difficult to pronounce, right? You would say Brno or something like that. You would add a vowel between the B and the R, right? Think about it as English speakers. Now, the Czech don't have any problem calling this place Brno, okay? So Hebrews were maybe even more sensitive than English speakers to having these consonant clusters. So English speakers wouldn't have 3 consecutive consonants at the beginning of a word, right? Give me an English word that starts with 3 consecutive consonants. Do you have any examples, guys?
Street.
Street. That's a good example. So you do have these, okay? But they're not common, okay? And by the way, yeah, like many other words, they come from foreign languages, but that's not very common that's common also with other words. It's not very easy, okay? So some languages do have them, and Hebrew speakers did not have 2 consecutive consonants at the beginning of a word. This is why in cases such as Bi-meqom, okay, in cases such as Bi-meqom, instead of having 2 consecutive consonants, bim, okay, with 2 shavas, the first shava turns into chirik. This is very common with prepositions before infinitive constructs. Lirot, lishmoa, livnot. You can see that in Ecclesiastes, okay, when Ecclesiastes gives a list of a time for this, a time for that, okay, right? At the beginning of that chapter 3 of Ecclesiastes, we have a list of time to do different things, okay? And you can see that you have the preposition added before these infinitives. With those infinitives that start with a shava, you can easily see how the moving shava under the preposition turns into a chirik. So let's see these examples. For instance, et lirpo, et lifrot, et livnot, et livkot, et lischok. Okay, when these are not required because the first root letter does get a vowel, like with a doubled stem with a PL, we see that shava, et levakesh, et leabed. However, et lirchok, et lishmor, et likroa, et litpor. Again, if there is a vowel, then et ledaber. So in order to prevent 2 consecutive shavas, the first one gets a short vowel, gets a chirik. Okay, Betsy? Betsy?
Yes, beautiful. Thank you very much. That's
Okay.
Ecclesiastes 3.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's
A time to
beautiful.
be
Thank you
born,
very much.
Sure. I hope I didn't go too far with talking about where my grandfather did his course in the Czech army, in order to demonstrate a point. Okay, so Brno, yeah, and Moroccans too as well. I don't know. Do you know anyone who is Moroccan, guys, or speaks Maghreb Arabic? No.
No.
So if you listen to Maghreb Arabic speakers from Morocco, you'll hear that like they don't have vowels, like almost. They speak with a lot of consonant clusters. Anyway, so we've talked about ישחטו את העולה, ישחטו את האשם, ודמו יזרוק על המזבח סביב. So note the transition of the language from the plural to the singular. Here the singular is referring to the priest that is offering. It should be said that according to the law, the slaughtering can be done by anyone, not necessarily by a priest even, but the spattering, the spilling of the blood, okay, the dashing of the blood, the spattering of the blood can be done only by the offering priest, the priest who is offering the offering. Now, note that we have the object coming before the verb, okay, which creates a different structure. The reason might vary, okay, but note that there is a focus on putting the object first, okay, specifying maybe the non-successive nature of these actions, or specifying the importance of the blood, or whatever, okay. It might be various things that are caused, okay, but it is what we call topicalization. Sometimes we make the object the topic, even if not the subject of the sentence.